Welcome, distinguished guests. I am Dee Wallace. I'm a movie star. I starred in a little film called E.T., the Extraterrestrial, which, interestingly enough, was about heart energy. Like that segue? I would like to welcome members of Congress, council members, and other officials, representatives from embassies, industry leaders, and of course, each and every one of you who are here today in our nation's capital. The last time I was here was on my 6th grade Sunday school trip. Like this. So I'm very honored and pleased to be back with you today. You are about to be a part of an action-packed program. You will hear top experts unveiling the latest new energy projects and programs and be updated on policies, contracting and economic opportunities from the region, the district, the federal government, academia, and industry experts. Exciting. All right, in a few moments, we will begin our program with the national anthem performed by Mr. Frank Basile. Mr. Basile, basso cantante, like that, right? Basso cantante, is here with his beautiful wife, Academy Award winner, Miss Celeste Holm. One of my idols and icons. Frank has performed in some of the most prestigious houses and stages in the world. He has sung with such opera companies as the Metropolitan Opera, Washington Opera, Baltimore Opera, and Augsburg Opera, and has been a featured soloist with such distinguished orchestras as the National Symphony Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and the Boston Pops. Frank recently returned from Istanbul, where he sang concerts showcasing arias from the opera, the Leonardo Bridge, scheduled to make its world premiere, with Frank singing the title role. Frank is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force and is a member of the United States Air Force Singing Sergeants, and one of America's musical ambassadors, singing frequently at the White House and before foreign heads of state. We are honored to have Mr. Basile perform the U.S. national anthem for us today. Thank you for leading the way on that. Sorry, I'm very much so that was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I love my country. It's great to be here. I would like to take a moment on behalf of WGES to thank everyone who has worked together to make this forum happen today. And we would like to recognize Professor Gallagher. Please stand up for us. For his great work in leading this initiative. The program and caliber of presenters are exceptional, as is his commitment to a quality program which provides a platform of education and information exchange in new energy technologies, ultimately leading to environmental advances while creating jobs and economic development. We're indebted to you. Thank you. Today was made possible by the collaboration of many dedicated people and their organizations. We would like to recognize the partners, sponsors, and host ambassadors. Their names are listed on the back of your program, so please check that out. Time will not allow me to mention each one, however, please familiarize yourself with their names and organizations, as today would not have been possible without their support. In particular, we wish to thank the District of Columbia for their hospitality and for their commitment to sustainability. The power of new energy is in this room. Let me say that again. The power of new energy is in this room. Let us come together to hold the intention for an expansive and exciting time together today. And now it is my pleasure to welcome our first speaker for today, Ms. Barbara Lang. Barbara Lang has been President and Chief Executive Officer of the District of Columbia Chamber of Commerce since March 2002. She has complete responsibility for the operations and the strategic direction of the organization, the premier advocate of business in the District of Columbia. The Chamber advances the interests and prosperity of its members through advocacy, education, information, and business development. Ms. Lang has transformed the organization into the most powerful and respected business group in the region through her aggressive leadership on key public policy business issues. Her goal is to have the Chamber pave the way to make the District of Columbia a better place to work, play, and of course, do business. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Barbara Lang.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction. Good morning, everybody. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you this morning. The mayor and I just commented that we start off with energy, and he and I are doing healthcare later this afternoon. I don't know what he's got in between, but I think I'm stalking him today because I'm with him a lot today. It's great to be with you to kick off this World Green Energy Symposium. I'm here to tell you that Washington, D.C. is open for business. I've never been more proud to say that as I am today. Despite economic challenges and fiscal uncertainty around the country, and indeed around the world, this is the ideal time to do business in the District of Columbia, right, Ms. King? One of the privileges that I have as President and CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce is that I get to meet hundreds of people in various professions at different sites throughout the district. Over the past few years, one theme keeps arising, and that is the amount of hustle and bustle there is in our city right now. The reason why I call out this theme is because there was a time when, once the clock struck 5 p.m., the district's population shrunk as those leaving put their cars on autopilot and headed back to Maryland and Virginia. You could shoot a cannon down the middle of K Street and you wouldn't hit a soul. Times have changed, ladies and gentlemen, and I can say with great confidence that DC is open for business. And not only are we just open for business, but we are making great strides towards sustainable job growth and economic development. When I was asked to speak to you today about the DC business community, I immediately agreed. You don't have to ask me twice to discuss a topic so near and dear to my heart. Confucius once says, choose a job that you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And that's how I feel about working for an organization that is the lead advocate for business in Washington. We've got great minds and visionaries in DC, and it is a humbling experience to work with our constituents to ensure that doing business here is the best investment one can make. I'm proud to say that according to the United States Green Building Council, the District of Columbia accounts for 59% of the nearly 67 million square feet of LEED certified space in the National Capital Region of Maryland, Virginia, and the District. And according to a USGBC study, LEED certified projects in the district have been increasing annually since 2003, including 2011 when our city led the nation in this category. Much of this comes from government-owned buildings, and as you know, we have plenty of those in the District of Columbia. Our city continues to grow, but we can only sustain this if we operate efficiently and with the idea of conservation in mind. Oftentimes, I reference the trains of development that dot our urban landscape. And as the head of the Chamber of Commerce, I run around the city and count, sort of like the deputy mayor for planning and economic development. I count the cranes that dot our skyline. And it's reassuring to know that a good portion of our construction is done with the environment in mind. People want to be here for our business, our culture, and our lifestyle. While we're not immune to economic challenges, last year our population growth led the nation. Unemployment actually decreased. Average incomes, and I hope yours did, increased. And we continued to attract people from around the world to visit us and enjoy all of our attractions, which now include our many eclectic and diverse neighborhoods. There are lots of reasons why Washington, D.C. remains resilient in the face of a struggling economy. One, we have strong employment. The Chamber will release today a State of Business in the District study that found that we added nearly 61,000 jobs between 2000 and 2010, while cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York continued to decline. Number two, we have a younger population, and yes, we need those young folks. According to Forbes magazine, Washington, D.C. is the 9th best city for young professionals, just below Colorado Springs and just above Minneapolis, St. Paul. We're also higher than such younger cities as Austin, Boston, and New York. In fact, the Washington Post, where we are today, just labeled our city as the capital of cool in an article. The third reason is we have world-class universities in our city. Georgetown, GW, Howard, American, Trinity, a host of others, all help stabilize the local economy. And at the time, we work with all of them to try to keep their graduates here where they can grow and certainly contribute to our economy. And fourth, we have powerful tourism. We are a travel market, a true destination city. In 2010, 15.4 million visitors domestically enjoyed our city. And this not only helps our local economy, but it builds our image as a tourist destination. Now, we do have our challenges like other jurisdictions, including disparities in income and education. and the possibility of a reduction in federal funds. But you know, challenges and competition are good. They make us get better and better at what we do. We are constantly working to ensure that doing business here is a sound investment. It seems like with each passing year, progress is the main theme of our business community, and last year was no different. I repeat that while the economy remains challenging, our population continued to surge, job opportunities increased, personal income grew, and our housing market, very tender in the past, continued to stabilize. So please, I encourage you to contribute to our local economy. Go out and spend a lot of money. Think of it as an investment in your nation's capital. With all of our wonderful restaurants, our coffee shops, hotels, shopping options, and other jewels throughout the city, you will receive the true DC experience. Thank you for spending your money here, and let's keep DC open for business. Now, if you think I have great things to say about Washington, D.C., just wait till you hear from our next speaker. He was born and raised, went to school here in the District of Columbia, and embodies the true meaning of leadership. When he was inaugurated as the 6th mayor of the District of Columbia on January 2nd, 2011, his goal was to unite our city in the form of job creation and economic development, working side by side with the community to implement school reform, creating safer neighborhoods where children could play and where businesses could locate, and holding the city finally accountable for the way it operated fiscally. I can say I've personally seen this work come to life. Our educational system is improving and has begun to better serve the needs of our youngsters. We continue to see job growth. People want to locate their businesses here and invest here. Our streets are safer, and we're finally getting to a point where we are operating in a fiscally responsible manner. The mayor of our great city is not only a partner with the DC Chamber of Commerce, but also a great friend. I always enjoy seeing him speak, hearing him speak, and I know you will too. Please join me in welcoming my mayor, the Honorable Vincent C. Gray.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Barbara for such a nice introduction, and even more so for a wonderful presentation. Isn't it wonderful to have somebody of her caliber, her commitment, her enthusiasm to be able to be the head of our Chamber of Commerce here in the District of Columbia? I can say without reservation that the Chamber of Commerce here is a leading business organization, which means I'll probably get 14 calls now by the time.
That's okay.
And 13 of those 14 calls will say, you're absolutely right. But Barbara really has been a moving force in the Chamber. If you go back, and this is certainly not to disparage anybody who, was a predecessor, but frankly, if you go back and look at the time that she has spent leading the Chamber of Commerce, it has come to light years. It really is just an incredibly respected business organization, both in the District of Columbia and in the entire region. So once again, Barbara, I want to thank you for your commitment and being so bullish on the District of Columbia. Also, I want to thank her for the emphasis on the things. When I came into office, there were really 4 things that I specifically wanted to focus on. She's talked about education, and frankly, our ability to educate the people, the young people of the District of Columbia, will determine our future viability. One of the things that is greatly disturbing is when you look at the job market here in the city, it is astounding that only 30% of the jobs are filled by people who live in the District of Columbia. And when you have no ability to tax income at its source, as we do in the district, then you realize a lot of dollars that are generated here in the city leave the District of Columbia every day. And of course, I could probably talk for hours about my message about self-determination here in the District of Columbia, how it would be nice if we were a city like every other that could approve our own budget rather than having to send it to Capitol Hill, where fiscal responsibility and fiscal engagement is proven to be such a watchword there. And also, we could approve our own local laws. For those of you who don't know, it's pretty amazing that we have to send all of our local laws to Capitol Hill, to the Congress, to be approved. The fact that we have an outstanding representative in the House of Representatives who really has no vote when it comes time to cast a vote that affects the 618,000 people in this city. She has no ability to cast a vote. And of course, we frankly believe that the nation comes from the District of Columbia becomes the 51st state because we do everything else that makes us eligible to be a state in the United States of America. But thank you. But all of that notwithstanding, we're moving on. We're moving on to work on job creation. I was at a conference recently with Governor O'Malley in Maryland, a good friend, and he cited the District of Columbia as in the last 18 months, number 2 in percentage of job creation in the nation, something for which we are mighty proud. And that, by the way, was number 2 among states. Number 2 among states. Also, we are one of the safest cities in America. Last year, we had the lowest number of homicides that we've had in the city in 48 years. And we are on course, if we can hold serve, as they say in Tennessee, if we can hold serve, we're about halfway through the year now. We're on course to have below 100. We had 108 last year. We're on course to have below 100, which would be the lowest number since data have been reported on this issue around in the District of Columbia, which would be a phenomenal accomplishment for us. And fiscal stability, I think we have arrived. I'm not ready to declare victory yet, but even in this recessionary economy, last year, when we got our audit from last year, which was in February, we were able to declare that we had a $240 million surplus here in the District of Columbia. But we know that that's not, that's not promised, that's not stable. That's why I want to join Barbara saying that we want you in your free time here to go out on 15th Street, K Street, spend every nickel that you have in your pocket. And yes, we take credit cards, we take checks, and we take IOUs from this group because we know you are good for the money and we will get it right. But again, I'm delighted to be here. And I want to thank the organizers of the World Energy Symposium, the World Green Energy Symposium, for bringing this critical discussion to our city and for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. We have one of our outstanding department directors here with us who's a real partner with me in moving our agenda forward. While we have those 4 priorities, I really think sustainability has eclipsed those. We now are moving because everything is affected by sustainability. And I want to thank Christophe Toulouse for doing a great job of heading our Department of the Environment here in the District of Columbia. I want to take the opportunity to talk generally about the vision for the long-term sustainability of our city and share with you some highlights of our efforts to ensure that we lead the nation in the move to reliable and clean energy as a foundation for economic prosperity. I realized a long time ago, and I don't think I'm alone in this view, that increasing the energy efficiency of our community and switching to renewable sources will make the district more self-reliant and, frankly, more reliable. A city with reliable and affordable power is one that is attractive to business and creates jobs, competes regionally and globally for investment, and retains its wealth, which every city wants to be able to do, by keeping our energy dollars working right here in the District of Columbia. For those of you who live and work in the district, you probably are aware that in April of this year we released a document that lays out a vision for sustainability for our city, and that is this document here. And we're down to our last 50,000 copies, so we'll be happy to make sure that you have one before you leave. The vision and goals outlined in the document, which we call the Vision for Sustainable DC, would make our city the healthiest, greenest, and most livable city in the United States by 2032, which is just one generation. We think this is a bold and ambitious vision, but I stand behind it. And as we look across our city, you realize, I think, that many others do as well. Again, I would invite you in all seriousness to take a look at this document. There are 9 areas that are laid out as a part of this vision. They include, of course, the built environment, and you heard Barbara allude to that when she talked about the percentage and number and square footage that we have in LEED certified buildings in the city. And frankly, a substantial part of that has been because the private sector has stepped up in such a visionary and assertive and aggressive way to be able to move in that direction. I oftentimes cite the PNC building, which is at just about 2 or 3 blocks from here on 17th Street, where it is a LEED Platinum building. And when you walk into the building and walk up to the counter of the concierge desk, they don't hand you a brochure about PNC Bank. They actually hand you a brochure that describes this fantastic building that they have constructed there, which is a model for us being able to go forward. So the built environment is a huge part of our vision for the future. Working on the climate, being able to do additional things with nature. We have an ambitious goal to improve our tree canopy, what is it, from 35 to 40% in the city, Christoph, which would add literally thousands of trees to the city, and we know the benefits that can be derived from that. Transportation. We have added an average of 1,000 people a month. Got that? 1,000 people a month to our population in the city. That's why when Barbara talks about the fact that our population is the fastest growing in America, those actually are the data that reflect that. And so doing, we obviously have to be mindful that we have a very limited geography in this city, less than 70 square miles, and we have to obviously have creative and forward-thinking ways of moving people around. At that pace, at that rate, over a period of 20 years, we will have added almost 250,000 people to the population. And we're not going to do it by continuing to decide automobiles, because that simply won't work. We have enough gridlock as it is without adding more automobiles. So when you look at the fact that we have a bike share program that is now one of the most robust in the nation, we have 1,000 bike stations, which you will see all over the city, 10,000 bicycles, and more than 20,000 members now in our bike share program. Increasingly large numbers of bike lanes. We have 55 miles of bike lanes in the city at this stage. We are already committed to go to 80 miles of bike lanes. We also are bringing back streetcars. It's a decision that was made decades ago in the city, and really it was a flawed decision. It was a mistake. So in 2013, we will have our first, in the modern era, our first streetcar line. We are committed to a 37-mile system here in the city that we think will cost about $1.5 billion. And I'm going to China in the next couple of days. And one of the things we're going to talk about with them will be infrastructure investments. And we hope that they are interested in our streetcar system and will help us develop that system, not taking 20 years, but perhaps a decade to develop the entire system in the city. And so, of the 9 areas, you've got waste, you've got water. I don't know how many of you are familiar with our Anacostia River, which we want to return to being fishable and swimmable in the District of Columbia, and it is neither at this stage. In fact, people look at me like I'm nuts when I talk about the Anacostia being fishable and swimmable, but our commitment will get it there, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to work hard to make this a waterway that everybody in this city and hopefully in the entire region can be proud of, along with the Potomac River. But, among those 9, energy is central to this vision. And we're no less bold in this area. I believe the district must be and can be a beacon for energy efficiency, reliability, and independence, and lead the nation in the transition to affordable, clean, and locally generated energy. Creating a bold vision is a good start, but it's going to take creativity, innovation, and hard work to achieve that vision. We need to develop smart, scalable solutions to use energy more wisely and rely on clean energy sources, which I assume this group would hardly agree with. To get there, we will reduce energy consumption by 50% and increase the use of renewable energy to 50% in just one generation, 20 years by 2032. Even on the scale of decades, there is no time to waste. We will realize our implementation plan this fall. Finalize the implementation plan this fall, and already we're implementing actions that will allow us to move in the short and midterm. We're already buying 50% green power for our city operations, those things that we control, hopefully as a model to others, and thousands of residents and businesses are as well. Currently, less than 10%, unfortunately, of our energy comes from renewable sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal. We can and we will do better. This week, my colleague, Mayor Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, entered his city in the national competition, National Green Power Competition. This is a challenge that we're ready for in Washington, and I sent Mayor Nutter a message, bring it on, brother. And of course, it's obviously a friendly competition, one we hope that will capture the imagination of the people who live in our respective cities and will give us even further motivation to be able to become more green. In addition to green power purchases, we're committed to energy efficiency. Our DC Sustainable Energy Utility, which was created through legislation a couple of years ago when I was on the council, is dedicated to reducing energy consumption and electricity demand while improving energy efficiency of low-income housing and creating local green collar jobs. We're also focused on how to get financial capital into the hands of building owners and residents to accelerate the pace of energy upgrades. Our Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, or PACE program here in the city, which we plan to officially launch in early 2013, will focus first on providing funding to commercial properties. We estimate a $50 to $70 million market for PACE funding in the district within 2 years, fully funded by private capital sources. This means that no District of Columbia government funding will be necessary to operate the DC PACE program. Clearly, there's much work ahead of us. That is clear. We obviously see that. But it's also clear that the district is already making incredible strides thanks to innovation and dedication from residents, private businesses, government, and nonprofit institutions. We are a leader in solar installation with some of the highest solar densities in the nation, and we're just getting started in that area. Over the past 4 years, our renewable energy incentive program for residents and businesses has provided over $15.3 million to support over 500 projects. This represents 2.4 megawatts of solar capacity. It has helped to offset more than 2,500 tons of carbon dioxide and produce savings of $387,000 as a beginning point worth of energy costs to the system owners. And finally, just this week, to complement our Sustainable DC efforts and take a deeper dive on energy issues, we released an RFP to update our comprehensive energy plan for the District of Columbia. And I'm sure, too, Christoph, that will be managed by DD, Department of the Environment, right? If you can't tell already, let me make it clear that I am very, very excited about where the district is going with respect to clean energy. We're on the right path. We're doing what's necessary to position the district as a beacon for energy efficiency, reliability, and hopefully energy independence. I believe that we are well positioned to lead the nation I am bullish on the District of Columbia. I will compete with anybody that would like to compete. And frankly, isn't it wonderful to think that we will have that kind of competition across America? Because there ultimately is no loser in such a competition. Every citizen, every resident of the United States will benefit from this, especially as we get people to understand that this kind of sustainability effort is what will sustain the planet and certainly sustain us here in the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize the district here and the mayor in particular for your efforts and your sustainable program, and we wish you luck at this ambitious plan. 2032 is that the date? Okay.
If not before.
We're going to bring our children back, and we're going to hold you to this now. And I find it ironic. Actually, we started the symposium in Philadelphia with Mayor Nutter, and I'm going to let them know that the challenge is on when I go back. This is so about it. You have to hold it to this wall. We thank you and wish you luck.
All right. Gives new meaning to having the whole world in your hands.
I like your sense of humor. I do, and everything you're doing. That's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a mid-morning break.